It was a good show. It was an awesome show. So, yeah.
It was a very good show. We are going to talk about Final Battle here. We're going to dive deeply into it. But, it was kind of a unique historical night just because of what Ring of Honor did. We had two wrestling promotions going head-to-head on national platforms, not TV, because, of course, Final Battle was on pay-per-view. But over on the BN Network, MLW presented their first live fusion. And covering that show tonight for Wrestling Inc., we had Joey G. I've got Joey here. Joey, thank you for joining us at the top of the show.
Gentlemen, thank you for having me.
Now, Joey, you watched MLW's first live fusion. I thought this was going to be a 2-hour show. I guess this was a 1-hour show they did tonight.
So it was a 1-hour live show that they broadcast, and then the entire live event was probably 2 or 3 hours because they taped a few extra matches for Fusion for the next couple of weeks. My stream did not have any included Best of MLW, which is what I believe they initially announced.
Yeah.
But it was a solid hour of wrestling. There were some technical difficulties, but a real mixed bag of an event.
Let's start there. I say this is the dome of positivity, but we got to get some negativity out there. What were the production issues? That's what has historically plagued promotions like Ring of Honor in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. So there were just times during matches where spots were missed, faulty camera work. The biggest issue was the commercials were not in sync with the performers. So they would have a segment where they were filming a brawl, but the brawl didn't get to be concluded because of an early commercial break. Same thing in a match. Shivani and Rich were both on commentary, and just in the middle of the match, they would cut to commercial without any notice or addressing. So not the biggest of deals, but definitely noticeable in a very short hour.
Well, I mean, I didn't see it, but that kind of sounds like a big deal if you're, not throwing to commercials and things like that.
Yeah, and it didn't happen every single time, but there were times where literally mid-match in the opening bout, which was a fatal 5-way ladder match, in the middle of a spot, we just cut to a commercial for a FIFA soccer match, and yeah, no heads up, no nothing. It was a real curveball.
Huh. Well, Michael, do you have any questions? I got a couple here, but do you have anything you want to know about what happened with the first MLW live fusion tonight?
No, interesting that that they were going head to head. But biggest thing you mentioned production values, and I think it's interesting talking about MLW right now, considering where Ring of Honor has come, and yet, but they still missed a couple of huge spots in their own show. So
yeah. But look, it was much different, because there were a couple spots, especially in that ladder match. It's like, oh wow, who was it? Mark Briscoe? Where'd he go?
Yes. Yeah. Missed a big spot right there too. That was a pretty heinous drop.
Well, but the lighting stuff was always a knock on Ring of Honor. Tonight's show was shot beautifully. We'll get to it here in just a moment. But any other takeaways, Joey? Let's talk about the matches a little bit. What kind of action did you see?
So we had 3 matches. The first bout was a fatal 4-way ladder match for the vacant middleweight title. Now, this match had a lot of controversy already because it was supposed to include competitors MJF, Jason Cade, Marco Stunt, all guys who went down with injury within the last 2 weeks. They subbed in a Desmond Xavier who made his MLW debut. Cotto Brazil remained in the match. And then they added Teddy Hart at the last moment. Teddy Hart actually ended up walking away with the title in a move that I think happened because in this initial taping, it was supposed to be the Hart Foundation versus the Lucha Brothers. But Ray Phoenix also went down with injury. And I think because they weren't able to give the Hart Foundation the tag belts, Teddy Hart took the middleweight belt, which I think is a good move. The Hart Foundation has been super over in MLW, especially Teddy Hart, who does some amazing things and makes them all look very, very easy. Which I'm assuming he's just intoxicated all the time. That's the only way that makes sense.
We've gone back into the dome of negativity here. You just throwing.
I didn't say that was a negative thing. There's nothing wrong with him being intoxicated all the time.
That man is a saint.
That man, he is the saint on top of every tequila bottle, which is not a big deal. So he can enjoy that. Second match was a quick affair between DJZ and Dragon Lee, also both making their debuts. Probably the match of the taping.
How can that not be? Those guys are both incredible.
They're both incredible. They showed off their athleticism. Just a good solid bout. The main event was Rush, or Roosh as they call him, against Rich Swann, which was a fine match, an odd one to close your live taping. They worked well together, but they were all setting up future bouts. LA Park came out afterwards to tease Rush and to tease Roosh, and of course him and Roosh had a huge feud in CMLL, and now they're translating it over to MLW, so it should be a lot of fun.
Wow. I'm excited to see how MLW finds its footing again. Like Michael said, it's crazy to think about where Ring of Honor is now, considering the issues they've been plagued with in the past. This was a big first step for them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason Ring of Honor started their show an hour earlier was because MLW was going to do like an hour. I think their show was going to be at 8 Eastern before Ring of Honor. And so that's why Ring of Honor decided to do a 4-hour show instead.
You could be correct on that. All I know is that originally they were planning a 2-hour live TV premiere. For some reason, it got moved to an hour. It could be to do with these slew of injuries that they've had.
I'll say this, and we're going to find out more in the coming weeks here. I would bet by 1-1, no BTE illusions there. There's more going on to the dynamic between MLW and Ring of Honor. And from what you're telling me tonight, this could have been a thing where if MLW came out in the production work and they could throw to commercials, maybe a conversation. Doesn't sound like they're really in the same arena, especially after what we saw from Final Battle tonight. But thank you for starting the show off by filling us in. I was interested to see how the show went. Great talent, Dragon Lee, top notch. Before we let you go, Joey, I have one news item that we had drop here tonight. We like to sprinkle in a bit of news. So before you go, I'd like to get your thought. I'll get Mike's thought on it. Vince McMahon is coming back to Monday Night Raw this Monday night. I'll give Michael the first word. Mike, Wiseman's coming back. What's going to happen here with this man?
Man, they are trying anything they can do to spike ratings right now. Listen, Vince McMahon historically has been a huge draw for Raw, right? Or at least in the company's mind he is, which is why they bring him out for these big events. And with things struggling, I think the tease of Vince coming back to really shake things up is something WWE believes will bring back some of that audience. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case because, and I tweeted this earlier, so often they make these big things. There's going to be big changes, these big announcements, and they don't amount to a hill of beans. So Vince McMahon's going to come back. He'll do a segment. He'll fire Baron Corbin, and Baron Corbin will be replaced by some other heel mouthpiece that really doesn't add up to any difference whatsoever for the product. The problem is with the creative process for Raw, not with who is on the screen right now. There is a crap ton of talent out there, plenty of people to occupy entertaining TV spots. Vince McMahon is not going to be the savior Raw needs.
Okay, Joey, what's Vince doing on Monday Night Raw? Why is this man coming back?
I mean, it's most likely he's going to take 3 hours to just talk about the XFL and how amazing it's going to be. Most likely makes sense to me. No, I 100% agree with Michael. It's a quick attempt at grabbing some extra ratings. I do think that he will appoint a new authority member to lead Raw. And he could always come in and even address the ratings like they did last week on Raw. It's a strange move, but I mean, I understand why they're doing it. I don't want to look too much into it because we're getting ready to be on the road to the Rumble. We're getting ready to be in WrestleMania season. So things are, I think, going to bounce back. But these last couple of weeks of Raw have been poor enough where an appearance by Vince might help them boost the ratings a bit.
I'll swerve both of you here. I think that Vince is going to approve of Baron Corbin. I think he's going to back this man. And, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little loopy here from too many shots to the head after that ladder wars at the end of Final Battle.
Yeah.
But what if Vince was like, you know what? I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you've done. You're a misunderstood authoritarian character who's losing their grip on reality. You are my friend. You are the son I never had. Right. And look, Shane is already off in his own world. Miz is trying to get in with the McMahons. There's a lot of, I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff going on here. And I wouldn't be so quick to throw Baron to the Wolves. I think that
the Wolves, because I get it.
Because he's a lone wolf.
Oh man, that's good. Clever.
Good stuff.
That's not what I meant, but I'm very funny. So I agree with you. That was a very funny thing I said.
It won't make a difference though. I mean, again, they're trying to double down on the McMahon storyline, and I think the issues with Raw are much bigger. Now, to your point, maybe we do something different. Keep in mind, back in the day when the Attitude Era kicked off, it was literally an announcement from Vince McMahon to the audience. Vince came out and said, "We're gonna get rougher, we're gonna get rawer, we're gonna be more realistic with our storylines," right? And he literally just told the audience that, and then they did it. So maybe they will do some kind of change up. They're still going to be, hamstrung by their partnerships with Coca-Cola and Fox and whoever else out there, right? These big corporations, but we'll see. We'll see.
Last tidbit, I'm also throwing in the ring live sex celebration between Baron Corbin and Vince McMahon.
It's what the people want.
You wanted to talk about a pool of positivity? That's your biggest pool right there.
Oh.
Fellas, thank you so much for having me on. I look forward to talking to you again, okay?
Goodbye, Joey. You're wonderful. I'm ejecting you from this. Wow. Joey G. Hot start to the show. MLW Fusion, Vince McMahon, Baron Corbin live sex celebration.
There you go.
Does it get in? My girlfriend's in the other room right now. She's like, what is my boyfriend doing on a Friday night? What is this? How he makes his money? You know,
talking about live sex celebration. She's tweeting now, right? You made me follow her earlier.
My wrestling GF. Yeah, at my wrestling GF. If you want to see her tweets about how much she really liked Flip Gordon's girlfriend. So we'll get to her here in a little bit. Let's dive on in. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Share this out. We got a chat room going. You're welcome to jump in there. Leave your thoughts. Go over to Twitter. We're at Wrestling Inc. Leave us some thoughts over there. And let's dive on in here. It was Final Battle tonight. Welcome to our post-show discussion. They were from the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City tonight. This show was streaming on pay-per-view, Fight TV, Ring of Honor, Honor Club. We started off. They were doing a hype package here for Dalton Castle versus Matt Taven. We had some stuff about Cody here, Jay Lethal, and this throws us to the opening match, Kenny King versus Eli Isom. Did I get his last name right? Isom?
Isom? I think it's Isom, but Isom is what King said to really throw everybody for a loop. He kept calling him Isom.
But it's fine that I don't know his name because the story here is grizzled vet Kenny King trying to teach Eli a lesson here, correct?
Right.
Which is largely what we got. You know, this was a very serviceable opening bout. I like the story. It was interesting that Kenny went over. In general, this was a show. If you're an ROH stalwart, this was a good show for you.
Well, and I think that this show was really building on so much that's happened in the last year. You know, I think it's really important to note here what Ring of Honor does so well that companies like WWE and Raw and miss what they don't do well. Ring of Honor reaches back into its history books and makes the things that happened before still relevant now. If guys have wrestled in the past, if they've had feuds before, if they have gone, they've been on the same team and then had falling outs, they bring all of that back up to relate to what is going on with their characters and with the stories around their shows. And, you know, we talked about this opening match here between King and Isom. They're setting up something else here for Isom, right? I mean, to your point, it was a serviceable opening bout. I think I maybe would have put the second on the card and done something really hot out the gate, but it was a fine match. And you're really telling the story here about what Isom, what he's trying to do. He's earning his spot. He's been through kind of the boot camp, the training. He's young, and putting him against King made for a fun, interesting storyline. Not the best match in the world, but it was good. Good enough.
Yeah, it was good. You know, Eli, you know, he didn't look bad in the loss at all. Here he lost after King hit the Royal Flush Fireman's Carry Cutter. But this was after a pretty solid back and forth. Kenny King, of course, very marketable. He's made the crossover into the Bachelorette and all these other things. I thought it was good. And again, theme of the night. If you're a Ring of Honor guy, if you're a Ring of Honor original, if you've been with the company and stayed by it, this was a night where I feel like they doubled down on you. So Kenny goes on. Stronger competition rolling into 2019. Eli here struggling to pick up the pieces. Will be building in 2019. And that's kind of the story of Final Battle, right?
Sure.
You know, kind of many ways. I could see how you would say maybe start off a little hotter. But again, I thought this set a really good tone. It was good. It didn't blow me away. And it left me building into this bout here, the Ring of Honor World TV Championship, Jeff Cobb defending against Hangman Page, which was... tough to say match of the night.
Yeah.
Because this was a great night for wrestling, but holy hell, these guys were incredible.
These guys set the tone for this card. I mean, I beat up on King and Isom a little bit because it wasn't hot out the gate, but what happened here in this Ring of Honor Television Championship match was, it was just fun. It was different. It was tough. I mean, you know, Cobb is a guy who can just move. He will grab you from any position and toss you like you are a rag doll and make it look seamless. And some of the sequences in here were just really fantastic. I think when Hangman did his moonsault into, and then Cobb grabbed him and did the belly to belly suplex overhead. It's just a fun sequence. And there were tons of little things like that all through the match that made it really build up to something really complete and just enjoyable as a wrestling fan.
Oh, and I think you're talking about when he did the running shooting star press off the rename
Yes,
there,
yes.
and then Cobb caught him and threw him into the belly to belly on the outside there. Yeah, I agree. And Jeff Cobb is so agile and he can grab you from so many directions and throw you so many different ways. But with a guy like Adam Page has never been in better shape. He's never looked better. A couple years ago, he's a little softer. This guy's a brick house right now. And everything that Jeff Cobb did looked bigger and better because Adam Page looked bigger. You know, that was the kind of the story of this, or a bit of the tale of this match, was just how Cobb was able to still go at that pace with a man of that size. I loved the stalling superplex on the top rope where Cobb held him for like 20 seconds before doing the jerk off motion and dropping him. I was like, what a badass, right?
Or as the announcer said, the taking his bets or gambling motion, they really played that off fairly well.
Rolling the dice.
Rolling the dice, yes.
But you know what? That's the thing, is that's the kind of cool factor. You don't get that in WWE,
No.
right? You don't get a roll the dice, whatever you want to call it, hand gesture from a guy on Monday Night Raw. You don't get guys willing to cross the line and be a little rough around the edges.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Cobb here is Jeff Cobb. He's so fully put together. It is very interesting to think about how in 2019 you're going to get Brody King, PCO, these other names that are going to be thrown into the mix. But Jeff Cobb was a couple months ahead of the pack. He came in first, land grab, got that title, and it is going to be his journey to watch. Him growing into becoming that Ring of Honor television champion. There's a lot of potential there.
Well, it's interesting here because him going over Page, who is kind of that Ring of Honor veteran here, who brings a different kind of presence to the ring. And I think that Cobb is something so unique with just his look, his style, his attitude. It says a lot about where they're going with Cobb and about guys like Page. Not that they're going anywhere anytime soon, but kind of bringing in this new talent into the mix in a really powerful way.
Yeah, and of course, we would be remiss to mention this was the first time an Elite member was in a match. Kind of the story was, are they going to try to do something kind of outside the box? Are they going to use all these guys to build to some kind of, meta ROH, maybe AEW kind of deal? This was the first time an Elite member went in. Excellent bout, nothing held back, but the Elite guy lost. The Ring of Honor guy won. Now we have Kenny King, Jeff Cobb. These guys look strong going into 2019, and they did a good job building a lot of those guys tonight.
Yeah, you're right, and again, Ring of Honor has found a way. They understand. You hear so many people talk about how they build talent, and the talent goes somewhere else. But Ring of Honor understands what it needs to do so well, much like NXT does to a certain extent, to build these young talent so that in 6 months or a year they can be the guys at the head of the card, and not be left behind.
Yeah, and that's really the story that Adam Page has had. And in a way, I understand the gamble he's making by going to AEW because obviously they see the potential in him. If that's the case, they see the potential in him. But at the same time, man, you look at Marty, Jeff Cobb, these younger guys, they're staying back. The company's rallying around them.
And there's an established brand here. Ring of Honor brings a certain level of prestige that we don't know what AEW will be at.
This takes us to our Women of Honor match. So you pointed this out, or you pointed that to me. I missed this on commentary. This is the first time in how many years?
They said 8 years, I believe, that it had been since there had been a Women of Honors match on at Final Battle.
It was a little weird to me that as hot as women wrestling is right now, it does not seem to be translating to the Ring of Honor audience, because you had this 4-corner survival match here for the ROH Women's Championship. Sumi Sakai, Kelly Klein, Madison Rayne, and Karen Q. It came down to Kelly and Sumi until Kelly won the title. I mean, literally, I'm talking like won the title, got the pin. The crowd threw streamers and seemed joyful. Then they were largely on their hands to booing, I thought, most of this bout.
This match fell dead to them. And I think, too, we have to give credit. We beat up on WWE some. We got to give credit here to WWE for what they have done to evolve women's wrestling. And I mean, I think you go back, you give the torch to Impact Wrestling back in the day for how they kind of set the standard for what a women's division could be. Fans coming in to watch a women's championship match expect something different this day and age. And I think this match was just booked a little bit. I don't want to say poorly, but the way it kind of played off. I love elimination matches, but there was a certain cadence in the match. It just never really felt like it got going. It didn't have the same level of brutality that recent women's WWE matches have had. And I think it wasn't complete on the wrestling. It just felt a little bit green. And so all of that brought it back a few stages in my mind. And maybe that's why we haven't seen as many Women of Honor matches and Final Battles.
I want to I mean, I don't know that I would say that it wasn't as brutal as WWE
Sure.
women's matches. Surely there has been some brutality there. It did not feel as crisp. And you said the word green, and I know there are many women in that match that would roll their eyes and probably hate you right now. But it didn't click. It didn't click. I agree.
Green was the wrong word, and I shouldn't have said green because that implies a certain lack of the talent. And I don't think that's not the talent wasn't there. I think when things came together, the match didn't feel like, I like the word click. I think the chemistry was just lacking for what I would expect from a main card match like this.
Outside of Madison Rayne, who the fans, I just don't think they know whether to cheer or boo these women.
Sure.
They know Madison Rayne, but they don't really know if it's like the Madison Rayne you're supposed to cheer or boo.
Right.
She's done both, right?
Right.
So well. She's so great.
Is she the beautiful people, Madison Rayne, or is she? Yeah, exactly. Right.
You don't know what, what do you think of Madison Rayne? Kelly Klein, obviously for the hardcores, they love her. But I think that was part of it too. Sumi Sakai has been the ring or the Women of Honor champion for like 8 months now since Supercard. And not once in that 8 months have I ever heard anybody be like, Sumi Sakai,
right.
It was a missed opportunity. I don't know what those negotiations were like or where they were at, but you had Tennille Dashwood there. She could have been your first Women of Honor champion. You could have bridged over into what the WWE is doing a bit right now and made it your own. I still do not understand why they chose not to go that route.
It's odd. And I think this is, again, we're going to talk about the whole package tonight here in a little bit, but there are little chinks throughout the night that I think give Ring of Honor some places to grow into to continue to be that big competitor. I think this is one of them. The women's division just needs a second look. And I think, again, it's almost a black mark that the women's division of Ring of Honor isn't this big deal like even WWE's women's division is. And so I think that's an area where you look at the company and say, this could be expanded in some meaningful way.
Yeah, so 2019 will be a year to watch Women of Honor. I mean, at least they were on the card this year.
Sure, absolutely.
They got to mix it up. When Kelly Klein won, lots of streamers. Fans were very happy.
Those fans just love streamers, so let's be honest.
Well, Kelly Klein has history there. They know her character. Ring of Honor fans have a respect for Kelly Klein. So we'll see if they can follow up on it. Maybe she comes out, takes the microphone, and that perfect foil, that perfect heel comes out at the next ROH TV tapings and takes her to the next level. That's got to be what happens.
I mean, with Kelly Klein here, if she's going to be a heel, she kind of overcame the odds tonight. So you've got to do something to make that stick.
Came across as a babyface to me.
Yep.
Didn't feel like a heel at all.
Nope.
So anyway, this led us to after the celebration, Kelly and Sumi hugged. So yeah, not heelish, right? They like embraced and woo, Women of Honor, women's solidarity, I guess. So again, it's not a division that has found its footing. So we'll move on. Zack Saber Jr., Jonathan Gresham. I was I hate to say skeptical because I am a fan of the Octopus, Jonathan Gresham, but I've never seen Jonathan Gresham show enough intensity to match his in-ring skills for it all to sync up. Yeah. I think this is this was the best Jonathan Gresham match I'd ever seen, and I think this was the closest to seeing that intensity, even in a loss here, which will hopefully help him spiral and go deeper. I have to believe that this was Jonathan Gresham's best outing to date in Ring of Honor.
I think match-wise, definitely. I think personality-wise, there's still some places for this guy to go. I mean, even the name Jonathan Gresham is just, it's lacking a certain zing. And you put him against somebody like Zack Saber Jr., wrestling style matchups, fantastic. But the name,
I hate to cut you off, but it felt a little bit like Tom Hanks working with like Jamie Kennedy, if that makes sense. So anyway,
wow, you just compared Jonathan Gresham to Jamie Kennedy.
Well, I mean, he's great. Like if you Jamie Kennedy, he kills. He's a great comedian. He's done great movies and stuff. I'm a Jamie Kennedy fan, but it's not like
you're a big fan of the Son of the Mask,
like Tom Hanks has. You
love Son of the Mask, right? It's your favorite movie.
That's not the piece I would probably hang my hat on. There's a great movie. I'm trying to remember what it's called, but it's called like Trolls or something like that, where he like confronts all the people that have trolled him online. And, like,
really?
Hecklers. It's a great documentary. Awesome. It's so funny. Anyway, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, for sure. And there is a certain pairing here. I think being with Zack Saber Jr. did allow Jonathan Gresham to kind of have to step up his game. He was forced to by proxy. I mean, it just happens. I like that this match, I like where it was in the card. and I liked what it was. It was one of those, catch wrestling style matches. Let's go to the mat. Let's get down here and work and be fast and fluid and everything. And I thought it clicked. I thought it was entertaining. I thought it filled a nice niche on the card. I think Zack Saber Jr. looks great, and Jonathan Gresham, he's got some plus stuff to work on, but it's improving.
It is, and I think with Gresham, I don't really know what it is, but maybe it's his voice needs a little gruffness to it. There's something about the eyes where it's like the eyes are still a little baby to me. Like I wanted intensity there. Zack Saber Jr., this man comes out. He is like a Batman-esque, cocky British villain. Sure. He's not. Is he British or he's an Aussie?
Yeah. New Zealand, I think.
New Zealander, bottle robbies.
There you go. That's not offensive.
It's a Bob's Burgers joke.
That's right.
No, Zack Saber Jr. carries himself just on such another level than Jonathan.
No, he's
Gresham.
English. You were right first. He's English.
He's English?
Yeah.
Well, then I apologize for the bottle rubbies joke to the New Zealanders out there.
Wow.
But
we're all the same to us Americans, you overseas people.
Well, it's the New Zealand flag has got the British flag in it, so it's like
that's right.
Anyway, Zack Saber Jr. just on another level. This was his Ring of Honor debut bout. I definitely got the impression he's going to stick around here in 2019. I don't really know if he does New Japan in Ring of Honor or if Ring of Honor pulled him away. The Ring of Honor New Japan relationship is going to be fascinating because I do kind of get the vibe that maybe Cody and the Bucks are going to keep working with New Japan, and not Ring of Honor. But Ring of Honor has a working relationship with New Japan. So how will they all get along? That's really
this is shaping up to be really interesting as far as the interplay between all of these companies, and we'll get to it in a minute. But even seeing guys show up from other companies with belts in hand, right. It's fascinating. 2019, what it's going to mean to pro wrestling as a business. Final comment here. I think Zack Saber Jr. is so great. I'm so glad he has done what he's doing out there. Jonathan Gresham, I think, just needs to work on presence. I think it's the subtle things that he lacks. In-ring acumen, solid, but just something about him, he's got to tone it up. He's got to build that character in,
I would love to take Jonathan Gresham for like half an hour and do some spinal work and help him find his body. All right, Jonathan, I want you to take 1 point of your body, and we're going to go from 1 to 10, and I want you to make that body part bigger as I count from 1 to 10 and walk around the room. It's a great way for you to loosen up and find new characters. It's an improv technique.
All you got to do, I saw this on TNA back in the day. If he would just get Hulk Hogan's Hall of Fame ring and put it on, it would give him the power to be somebody he's not. It's simple.
You took the wrong TNA thing I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say he needs to call Kevin Nash and join Paparazzi Productions, because that's how all the cruiserweights got over at TNA back in the day.
That's right.
And it was fantastic. What's Kevin Nash doing right now? Other than
blowing out a quad? Is that what's...
Yes, flexing his gigantic quads. All right. This brought us to what was arguably the actual Ring of Honor main event for the evening. It was the fourth match on the show. Dalton Castle with the boys taking on the real Ring of Honor world champion, Matt Taven. Matt Taven having TK O'Ryan out at ringside, making the referee introduce him as the real Ring of Honor champion, wearing the Ring of Honor championship. I love this.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Fantastic. It's Matt Taven. Listen, say what you will about Dalton Castle, but Matt Taven has come into his own in a way. This storyline has done so much for him. And you pointed this out to me. I mean, he's been one of those guys that seems like he's right on the cusp of being their guy for so long. And I love the fact that he has been allowed to shine by carrying around his own championship. And it's the exact thing that we all complain about when we see wrestling, which is guys get a 10 count in a match. They should rightfully win it, but it's taken away because of pro wrestling rules, right? And so the fact that somebody's going to double down and say, I got my own belt and I am a champion and defend it, what's stopping him? It's amazing. I love the storyline. The match was very, very, very good.
This was another chaos match. There was like a couple just straight chaos matches tonight. From the get-go, you knew the boys were going to be hands-on. You knew TK O'Ryan was going to be hands-on. You knew if you've been following the product, you knew Vinny was under the ring, right? It was like, where's right. Vinny? He's probably under the ring. You got the spot where Dalton falls, the boys catch him. You got the spot where TK's chasing Matt ringside. You got the spot where Vinny, it comes out from under the ring, takes out the boys, drags the boys underneath the ring. There was also a very scary moment in this match where Matt Taven went to do a planche over the top rope. Dalton moved, and I think Taven, maybe he didn't. Maybe it was all very controlled, but it looked like he overshot it and went across sternums on the top of the guardrail and collapsed to the ground for at least 2 minutes. He didn't even move.
Yeah. You know? He might have been selling it, but it's always scary when you see moments like this. There were a few in the main event tonight too, where it's just like, you have to remember how much these guys put their bodies through. I think if you don't go to very many live wrestling matches on TV, it comes across very sanitized. But when you see a human body do something like that spot, you legitimately worry that they are not going to get up from these sometimes.
Well, it reminded me, if you've ever watched Wrestling with Shadows, the great Bret Hart documentary, he talks about the only time he ever was injured was when he got thrown off the ring apron and he turned around and he went to hit the guardrail. I think he was against not Bruno. It wasn't Bruno. I'm trying to think of who it was. Anyway, he gets turned around and he lands across the guardrail, very similar spot, broke his sternum, collapsed on the ground. Dino Bravo is who I was thinking of. Rolls him back into the ring,
right?
Forces him to finish the match, and he felt like he was going to die the whole time. I'm sitting there thinking about Bret Hart with a broken sternum as I'm watching Matt Taven on the ground. It was very scary, but the man pushed through because he is the real Ring of Honor champion. And we get to the end here. Interesting spot where Dalton's going for the pin. TK picks up one of the boys, throws him into the ring to beat the pin. Somehow the ref doesn't see this. Did that seem weird to you?
Yeah,
like,
it was weird. Like, what shouldn't you have called the bell there?
Colt Cabana's like, where the boys are just flying in everywhere.
Right.
What happened? Right. Yeah, so TK throws the boy in, breaks the pin. This leads the ref to kick everybody out of the ring. This leads Castle to hit a big knee in the corner. He hits the bangerang. Taven's near the ropes. He's able to get a hold of him. Castle with multiple knees in the corner. Castle tries for the bangerang one more time. Taven with a big knee to the face. He hits the climax. 1, 2, 3. Your real Ring of Honor champion defends the title successfully. Matt Taven. Again, another Ring of Honor guy who has been through the trenches, who saw them through 2018. They've stayed invested in the kingdom. This guy wins. The real Ring of Honor champion moves on here. Interesting choice here to have him go over Dalton. I was a little bit surprised.
I was curious where this was going to go, but when you see how the rest of the card plays out and you see who else is lining up for championship opportunities, throwing him into the mix with who else wins tonight, I think makes for some interesting pairings. It also makes for an interesting storyline as far as you need a heel carrying around a fake championship. I mean, Dalton Castle could pull it off. His character is so kind of out there and just over the top enough, it would work. But Matt Taven doing it with that kind of grudge about him that he is the rightful champion makes for an interesting interplay down the line.
And, matches like this for Ring of Honor fans are the kind of matches that get you to the next level. Not that Matt Taven has many levels to go in front of him, but if you're going to make the case that you're the real Ring of Honor world champion, go out there, push through that guardrail spot, have that excellent match with Dalton Castle, make it entertaining with all your guys at ringside. It only helps embolden his case. And like every match on this, almost like nearly every match on this show, you have to ask yourself afterwards, what is going on with both these guys? Obviously, Matt Taven, they're going to build around in 2019. Rumors, Dalton Castle, WWE has interest in him. So is this another case of Ring of Honor getting one of their core guys over at the expense of maybe somebody who may not be around for much longer?
I think so. And you talk about WWE having interest in Dalton Castle. It makes a lot of sense because Dalton Castle is kind of a great worker. Don't get me wrong, but he's kind of a character first. His gimmick, his everything. And I think what Dalton Castle needs to succeed, honestly, is the level of polish he could get in NXT for that character. I think the character is great. I think you put that NXT production value on top of it, and I think it becomes something fans can connect with on a deeper level. And so not that fans already don't connect with him, but if you take the Dalton Castle promo from tonight and just literally put it on Monday Night Raw, I think you would lose some people, right? And I think you need that extra level of production that will go into it by working with talent in NXT, working with production people in NXT, working with Triple H that Dalton Castle could really benefit from.
Now, I loved this match. I thought it was great. I have to, because you talked about the production that Dalton needs to get this character across. I was not a fan of the dollar store cart or whatever they pushed him out in. Like screamers.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. And they made a big deal about it, about how cool it was. Like the announcer just, man, look at this. This is the best thing ever.
Like, this is a failed science fair project, is what Dalton Castle's coming out to the ring here tonight. Anyway, very, very fun bout. Matt Taven, again, wins here solidly. Not like there weren't a ton of shenanigans here, so I could definitely see these guys doing another bout. But your real Ring of Honor world champion, as it stands, Matt Taven. This takes us over to Marty Scurll versus Christopher Daniels for the rights to a future Ring of Honor world title shot. And Christopher Daniels, did he have his career on the line here? Did I miss a step or something?
Yeah. He was told he has to win a title shot or he was going to be fired. Okay. That he would not be renewed, which played later on into the Bully Ray match where he took a bullet for the owner of the company.
Yeah. Very interesting here. This wasn't, I don't think by any stretch, like the blow away match of the card or anything. The fans love Marty Scurll. He didn't really have to do a whole lot here tonight. I thought him and Christopher Daniels definitely worked very well together. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. And in the end, Christopher Daniels would succumb to the chicken wing for Marty Scurll and tap out, which led to a very emotional moment between Christopher Daniels and the fans after the match. Right, Mike?
Yeah, it was great. Marty Scurll, who is better than Marty Scurll right now in wrestling? Like, his character is so great. The way he acts, the presence he brings. I just love everything about him. I think this card was so quick, though. I told you, there's so many. I wanted this moment to breathe. I wanted the Christopher Daniels moment to have a little bit more room. I get they played into the Bully Ray storyline, and we have obviously not seen the last of Christopher Daniels in Ring of Honor. I get that. But so many times tonight, it was like match ends, next match begins. Match ends, next match begins. And I want a little bit more airtime in between to process what I just saw.
Yeah, and I can see that. I can see how you could say that. For me, though, man, I prefer this to the other thing, which is just like long periods of promos and vignettes and stuff that I'm like, please, Jesus. And then because of all the promos and the vignettes, the matches get short. And so those guys are unhappy and their matches aren't as good. I actually thought the flow of tonight's show was not bad. I know there was a lot, but
nitpicky. I admit it. I can be nitpicky sometimes. I mean, can't we just at least get a Jay Lethal and Young Bucks KFC promo spot? That's all I want in my life right now. Come on.
That's what I'm saying. Is what are we really missing here, man? What are we missing here?
It's a simple thing where if you were to take a talent backstage in one of these spots and just interview somebody for 2-3 minutes, boom. That would solve my
stuff, man. Like, I honestly, I'll go back before the Gresham versus Zack Saber Jr. match. They showed Jonathan Gresham's like ROH TV promo that he does. And I hadn't watched it, but I know how they film him because I know that style. And yeah, it's like, okay, but it doesn't, whatever. He's a guy that gets over more for me in a wrestling match. I don't really need to hear a 60-second promo from him.
I agree with that. Here's what I guess I mean more by that. Maybe not promo, but a certain recognition, a certain nod that something happened and it means something. A guy going into the back, all of a sudden he gets grabbed by an announcer. 2 seconds of, hey, you successfully defended your title tonight, Cobb. How do you feel? Just something that reinforces what happens at the beginning of the card still has a presence in the company.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean,
small thing. It's a small thing.
Shows like this that have reflection, we can look back on it. Right?
That's right.
Well, yeah, after the match here, so like you said, there was a chance to breathe. Daniel celebrating in the ring, and out of nowhere, Bully Ray comes in, low blows this guy as he's posing in the corner. Crowd's like deflated because they were having this like religious moment here, watching an ROH original like retire from wrestling.
I love you, man.
Yeah, and here comes Bully Ray, hits this man in the testicles. And he takes the microphone and he calls out Flip Gordon, who comes out as G.I. Joe, channeling his inner the Marine John Cena here. Full flak jacket, hacksaw Jim Duggan style American flag. It was great.
I like how Bully Ray was just like, let's start the match now. Like, wasn't your match scheduled to go next anyway?
Yeah, whatever. He wasn't ready to. He's like, you know what? That's too much breathing. I don't want Michael Wiseman to be like, oh, I enjoyed those 60 seconds of non-chaos. Let's get right to it here.
We got to get our 17 matches in before 12 o'clock.
This match was a total and insane, nuts to the wall, balls to the wall, bit of chaos. Wonderful storytelling. I'll do my best to try to recap it here without being a little too long-winded here. First of all, as they got into it here, you would notice a kind of bored blonde woman in the front row. What we thought, at least what my girlfriend and I thought to be a bored blonde woman in the front row, turned out to be Flip's girlfriend, who would play a role in the match here momentarily as Flip's on the outside. They've been going back and forth. Bully being very vicious with the chairs. He grabs this girl from over the guardrail there. He's got a table set up, and he's like, "I'm gonna power bomb her through this table." And Flip Gordon's on the ground. No, don't do this. Don't do this. And out of nowhere, out of nowhere, Kerry Silken comes along and hits Bully Ray to break up the power bomb spy here. A little unexpected, right?
Kerry Silken and his new metallic hip or artificial hip, whatever they were talking about on the announce team.
I thought the commentators did such a good job here of explaining who Kerry was to everybody, because I know there's a lot of Ring of Honor fans who probably wouldn't know who Kerry is. But interesting, he was the one to step up here. Bully starts to push himself up against Kerry in the corner there. I don't remember the exact order of things that go on here, but at one point, Bully was going to hit Kerry with the kendo stick, and Christopher Daniels jumped in out of nowhere and stopped Kerry Silken from getting hit by the kendo stick by Bully Ray.
The same Kerry Silken that threatened to fire Christopher Daniels if he didn't win a title shot tonight.
So a moment of peace here. So anyway, Flip's girlfriend gets dropped. At some point here, Flip just decided to go to the other side of the ring and cut himself in the forehead. No knock. I just don't know. I mean, it was just like all of a sudden Flip was very bloody. Very bloody. After he put his girlfriend on the other side of the apron, or the other side of the guardrail when she was safe, he kissed her, which is, kind of gross, right? All the blood on the face and stuff. At this point, Bully has got the kendo stick, but he's dropped his. Flip comes back to the ring, attacks Bully with the American flag attached to a kendo stick, which was about as Michael Bay as you can get in pro wrestling, I think.
That's right.
Yeah,
Mike. That's true. Michael Bay pro wrestling. Well, they tried to go bigger Michael Bay with the lighter fluid on the table, but we didn't quite get there.
Well, then Flip's in control here, and he starts to choke Bully Ray with this flag. The refs ask if he's going to quit. And out of nowhere, Silas Young runs into the ring. He drops Flip, so now Silas Young's out there with Bully Ray. They grab lighter fluid that they're going to light this table on fire with. Not yet, though, because here comes Cheeseburger. He comes in. Young plants him real quickly. Bully gets more lighter fluid. They go back to pouring the lighter fluid. They're going to torch the whole building. Cabana leaves the broadcast position. He cracks Silas Young with a chair. He nails Bully Ray. Silas gets a hold of Cabana, sends him packing. More lighter fluid because Silas and Bully, again, they really want a fire going here. As Silas goes to light the table, lights go out. Who could it be? The Sandman. If you've been watching Ring of Honor TV, you know that the Sandman represented Flip Gordon a couple weeks ago on TV in a match against Silas Young that he lost. And Sandman beat up Young. Bully grabs a kendo stick of his own. Sandman cracks a beer. He smashes on his head. We're in the Manhattan Center. We've got Bully Ray. We've got Sandman staring at each other down here. Bully swings, misses. Flip with a Star-Spangled Stunner. Sandman hands over the kendo stick, and Flip just starts to go to effing town on Bully Ray, who is draped over a table. He just hits him over and over and over again. He grabs two kendo sticks. He's smacking him double style in the back. And Flip Gordon wins. He makes Bully Ray say, "I quit."
It's one of these things where this match was absolute, complete chaos at many points, but they did a lot to keep the story going to where you never lost interest, right? Back in the day, WWE used to do these massive hardcore matches with 20 people and whatever, and it was just stupid. It's like a battle royal, right? It just gets stupid at a certain point. You can't keep up with it. But this match had a purpose for every segment, and it told different facets of the same story. And so I like that about it. And I think even the Silas Young piece that stands out to me, where Silas Young kept trying to light the table on fire, and somebody else would jump in, and then he'd beat them off, and then he would go back to the table, and somebody else, and he kept having to kind of fight all these people off in his attempt to light the table on fire. But it made for a fun segment, and gave you some good back and forth there. And I think all those things added up to just fun chaos. And the Sandman reveal, absolutely great. I dug it. absolutely a fun brawl, fun, brutal match.
Yeah, but yet once again, a situation of Bully Ray, older veteran, doesn't need to win here. Flip Gordon is your 2019, one of your franchise players. Hard to argue. This guy could not have come out looking any better than this. Blood on the face, swinging the American flag, drinking a beer with the Sandman. Flip Gordon is the America I want to believe in right now. Everyone's chanting USA. I can't remember the last time I saw a room full of people like, we are USA, right? Like they were so jacked on it in that moment. You know?
Well, and it's one of those things where everybody hates Bully Ray, right? And Bully Ray knew by low blowing Christopher Daniels, you do that to make sure the Hammerstein Ballroom does not side with him, right? It's his old country. But this is such a big thing for Flip to beat him because the announcers put over how much everybody hates Bully Ray. And so I think it made for just a really great win for Flip and a great celebration, and interesting things for Flip lie ahead, I think.
Again, it's like, a core Ring of Honor guy looks really strong, and we got a good pool of characters here going into 2019. Let's see if we can build on that here. In your semi-main event spot, the Ring of Honor World Championship, Jay Lethal defending against Cody Rhodes. There was a bit of, first of all, the jaw jacking before the match, thought was very interesting. Jay Lethal saying that you were once Ring of Honor's new toy. You will leave dull and broken. It almost looked like Cody wanted the microphone to say something more, and Jay didn't give it to him.
Yeah.
There was a real vibe here that these guys don't get along.
They were able to tone it up, and maybe it is all for show. Who knows? We will never know for sure. But the little things between these two guys, the way they were approaching each other, that's what made it feel real. And those are the things as a younger performer, they need to look to these guys. I mean, honestly, both of these guys are veterans, right? Don't take anything away from them. Both of these guys have been around multiple companies, done it all in all these companies. And I think that they know the little nuances that make it, even Cody Rhodes later in the match, the little thing he did where he was faking the knee, and then he hopped up and tricked everybody, and then he hopped out, and then he teased the audience by running in place and jacking the knee around. It's that touch that makes him the performer he is, and so that veteran expertise really was in full show here.
Yeah, the match started a little slow to me, but it did start to really build. I loved the fake screw job, where at one point Cody had Jay Lethal in the figure 4, and Adam Page rang the bell and was like, We're taking the belt. We're getting out of here. Right? We're just gonna leave. It's a heist. I thought that was a really nice touch. And in the end, Jay Lethal figure 4. He made Cody Rhodes tap out. This is gonna be a show. Historically, people are gonna look back on in a completely different light. It was an interesting choice to have Cody not just lose and get pinned, but Cody lost and he tapped out. And Jay Lethal, again, core Ring of Honor guy, stalwart, stood by the company, standing tall going into 2019. Another interesting way that worked out.
Well, you look at this. I mean, I thought Cody could walk out with a championship, and had an interesting article I wrote about it. But the way it played out, it very much felt like that old school mentality of the guy leaving does the job for the guy who is carrying the company in his wake. And that's what I think it is. I think it is, talk about Cody and the Bucks creating their own company and what it means to him to have this on his resume. But really what he's doing here is he's doing what his dad did back in the day for guys. He's doing what everybody back in the territory days would do. That guy's, I'm on my way out. That guy's going to be here after I leave. So let me put him over because it's what's best for the company and it's what's best for the business.
Yeah. And on that note, weird you should bring up his dad, because after the match, Lethal is standing over Cody, shakes his hand and celebrates as Cody rolls out of the ring. In comes Marty Scurll, who won the ROH title shot earlier in the night. He's staring down Lethal. And as Cody and Brandy head to the back, the man carrying the title that Cody and his father used to hold, the NWA World Championship, Nick Aldis, along with Camilla, head down the ramp, and he joins in the stare down with Lethal and Scurll. And Scurll says Lethal should pay attention to him as he snatches the title away for a moment, then tosses it back to Lethal. So going into 2019, the NWA World Championship, I guess, will be in play here in Ring of Honor.
Man, you know what's funny is NWA, they are figuring it out over there. Billy Corgan, he is on the way to understanding what it takes to make NWA relevant here in 2018. It's not NWA Wildside, which I thought it was. I was wrong about that.
They have figured out how to make one guy interesting, Nick Aldis. Now, I agree that the NWA title has not meant more than it does now, but they are not really running a promotion, right?
Well, that's probably
they're kind of like renting out a champion. That's not like a promote. They've done like one show that did really well when Cody Rhodes was at his peak, like a month after All In. It did really well. But they're not like running a promotion. You know what I mean?
It's true. And Nick Aldis did allude to that in our interview with him, where he talked about the Wrestling Inc. interview, where he said, I don't want to work every date under the sun. I want to be selective on my dates, and I'm open to facing other challengers from other companies and stuff. So this is perfect for Aldis. He didn't even wrestle tonight. He shows up. Yeah. He gets the spotlight.
It's a sweet deal for Aldis. Like you talk about, they're rebuilding the NWA. It's like, are they, or are they rebuilding Nick Aldis? Because like it kind of feels like he's never felt more important.
That's true. His ego is getting a nice little fan right now. That's absolutely true.
And this brings us to the main event. The Briscoes come out first, followed by the Young Bucks, closing out SoCal Uncensored, represented by Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian for Ladder War. Nothing held back. These guys put it all on the line. I love that the Young Bucks were dressed like the new rockers. I thought that was a nice touch. Mm-hmm. I guess Matt's the Marty, right? Because because
he was got dark hair, and I think so.
It was cool. In the end, though, the Briscoes stand to everybody bled. Everybody got cut up here. I thought Kazarian looked like a badass in this.
Yeah.
thing.
There were some tough shots too. I mean, give these guys credit for putting their bodies out there, but one of the things that does bother me is when I see a promotion like Ring of Honor, often unintentionally sometimes I think, but still do unprotected chair shots. And there are one or two times a chair was thrown at somebody's head. And guys, listen, it's 2018. We know what happens with concussions, with brain injuries, with even simple things that happen to the cranium. And just would hope Ring of Honor continues to grow in that area as well, as far as protecting their talent. I love the brutality, but you don't need some of the things that can have lasting consequences.
I agree with that. I thought you were going to be upset about how they kept cutting away when guys would like fall to their death. Like it didn't get caught on camera. Like, wow, this man just put his life on the line for you to put money or food on your family's table, and you catch on camera.
There were two big bumps down the stretch that I think were big misses. There was the bump off the ladder onto another ladder right at the very end, and then the bump. I think it was Matt Jackson who took it to the outside, and they caught part of it, but then they cut away so quickly. It just, some of the production things just needed tightening up some.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of Ring of Honor Final Battle. What do you give the grade of this show? What do you grade it?
Is there like a star system? Is there a scale on a scale of 1 to 15?
Come up with your own thing. Like you can do it on like a scale. You can do it as a color.
I'd give it a red out of the rainbow. So it's no.
First one. That's the top color.
That's the top color, man. That's right. Roy, no, it was a great show. Listen, I was pretty harsh on All In earlier this year. I understand people loved it, but there were I felt like it was overbooked in spots. This card had some of that overbooking, but they did it the right way. They paced the card the right way. They had everything for everybody, and I think it made a very complete show. And really, really great show all the way around.
I definitely saw people on Twitter tonight hitting me up saying, I haven't watched Ring of Honor in a while, and regardless of the Elite, I had a great time watching this show tonight. Production, we had, again, Joey G started off the show here tonight with us, recapping what he saw in MLW. Before he said anything about the quality of the matches, he said the quality of the production, right? And oftentimes getting over that hurdle will open the door for you to do so much more. And now that I'm not hearing as much about the production elements of Ring of Honor, now then people are starting to debate the merits of the quality of the product. And one thing that I thought tonight's show had that people have said in the past Ring of Honor was lacking is story, is character. For a long time, Ring of Honor was the work rate company. You had guys that went out there and they worked great matches, but who are these guys? What are the stakes? A lot of the matches tonight had stakes. I think that's even why the women's match maybe didn't hold its own as well, because it was one of those rare bouts where there wasn't something hanging over it. Hangman Page Cobb has a weird vibe to it. Daniels, Marty had a weird vibe to it. You know, there's stakes with Bully and Flip. Of course, the title matches. You know, everything had some stakes to it, and that's not how it's always been. And I think it's a very positive step for Ring of Honor going into 2019 to have made the choices they did on tonight's show, and to have gotten behind the talents they really did. I think that it is very telling when you look at the people who won tonight. It's not a good guy, bad guy thing. It's a loyalty thing. And there were a lot of very loyal soldiers that were put over tonight.
It reminded me of a show. I would say this is not an insult, I swear, but it reminded me of a circa 2006, 2007, 2008 TNA show. And that is a bunch of young guys who are hungry, fighting for spots, a bunch of talent across the card. And you got some older guys in the mix, right? Bully Ray was out there and a few others, but really a complete show from the perspective of great work rate, something different than what you see from the big company, and a future, right? You see guys looking towards what could be next in the next year. And that very much reminds me of where TNA was about 10 years ago.
Yeah. So, look, and TNA is Impact now, and they've got a good product, but I do
Sure.
feel like Ring of Honor is on another level. I do think that, you know, as excited as it was, that sugar high that we all got hearing that Cody and Bucks could be starting their own promotion, how great can that be? Well, you kind of forget a little bit about, like, it's not just the characters, it's also the stages they've held, and is it going to be as fun when you take those elements out of it? And Ring of Honor and New Japan are still going to be Ring of Honor and New Japan with or without those guys. How are those guys going to deal in a different sandbox? That's going to be the tale of 2019.
Can I just add one thing too, since you mentioned Ring of Honor, New Japan, their partnership? I think it's really fascinating. To your point, throughout the night, they put over all the Ring of Honor talent. It reminds me of what New Japan did back at Wrestle Kingdom 12. New Japan put over a bunch of American talent, knowing that their expansion was going to be in America over the coming years. And that's what Ring of Honor did tonight. Our expansion is going to be with this talent pool we have here, and they double down on it.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, that is going to bring us to the end of the show here tonight. We are working on some big post-final battle stuff, so the coverage has not stopped technically for Wrestling Inc. I wish I could say something, but I have at least 2 things I'm working on that I can't talk about, but maybe by Tuesday here, you guys will get a glimpse through the looking glass about what I'm dealing with as far as the fallout from Final Battle tonight. Intriguing, right? But in the interim, we do have WWE TLC this Sunday night. Stay up with us after TLC. We'll have former WWE superstar Matt Morgan with Glenn Rubenstein and Raj Giri. They're going to be talking all about TLC. Tomorrow, we can rest a little bit, but we will have a TLC preview on the site. And then, of course, come back every Wednesday and Thursday, or Wednesday and Thursday next week, noon Eastern, to find me with Justin LeBar. Glenn joins us on Wednesdays to do more Wrestling Inc. podcast. Mike, where do you want to send people to find you, follow you, all those great things on the internet?
Best place to follow me is on Twitter. I am at The Real Wiseman, and you can pretty much find everything about me there. If you're on Facebook, facebook.com/Michael A. Wiseman, and Instagram, I think I am Wiseman.ma on there, so you can see pictures of my dog and my cats.
That's what everybody wants. But that's what the internet. You know, I was reading Wrestling Inc.'s analytics for our Twitter earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that of all of our Twitter followers, do you know what their number one interest is? And it's not pro wrestling.
Cats.
Dogs.
Oh, really?
We are a dog site, people.
Huh.
So Wrestling Inc. I was looking, I was like, I guess that makes sense. Anyway, if you like,
probably a general internet trend. I feel like everybody just loves dogs, right? America is complete crap right now, but at least we have dog pictures.
Mike, that's the dome of negativity. You've gone back into the dome of negativity here at the end of the show, and I refuse that. Not on a night where Flip Gordon bled buckets, drank beer with the Sandman, and waved the American flag. Am I going to have you saying negativity about the state of America right now?
He made America great again. What can I say? Flip Gordon made America great again. There you go.
He really did. Flip really turned it around tonight, and I'm proud of him for that. So thank you, Flip Gordon, and thank you all for tuning in. I am Nick Hausman. I am at Wink Rebel over on Twitter. My girlfriend Liz has started tweeting under the @ at My Wrestling GF. So if you want, like, if imagine a girl who really likes RuPaul's Drag Race tweeting about pro wrestling, then go follow that, because you'll have a good time. I promise you.
It was a weird Twitter. I checked it out for a hot minute. It was different.
It's gonna be a podcast soon. It's gonna be amazing. All right, everybody, that's it. I'm tired. I'm lucid. I'm gonna have one more beer and go to sleep. Thank you for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it. Good night, everybody.